lot of the time, my process starts with looking. I went to school to learn how to synthesize my life through the making of objects and things, and that's the creation of art. Like, I don't know anything about these plants. So I'm trying to learn about them both through study, but also just getting to know them. Getting to know what season they're in. I mean, I didn't grow up in an agrarian society, so like I'm learning this stuff like, oh, this is what a flower looks like after it dies, or this happens exactly for 1 week out of the year, and then in the winter, it's this whole other life cycle. Like there's this whole world that is in my backyard that I've never paid attention to. And so a lot of what I'm doing as an artist is trying to learn more about my backyard. But I'm also trying to tell the story of those to other people. Maybe that will help increase the value of that as a society. We used to tell stories about plants a lot more. Like every kid would know what is poisonous in their backyard, what mushrooms can they eat, what can they not eat. That's how we had our oral histories. That's how we defined ourselves. I've been spending the last few years unearthing some of those histories and stories, and there's a reason like white flowers mean something to us culturally, and it's because they generally come out in spring. You know, the seasonal white flowers of the hawthorn flower, the apple blossoms, and they're all white. It's in spring, so we associate that with the purity of new life. So we know these things internally, but we don't talk about them and we don't show them. So on a surface level, I am exploring that, but once you go down that rabbit hole, there's so many stories, and there's just so much cool stuff there. But if you're not looking for it, it's buried. And I like to start with ground cover, and then I kind of build a story up. So I really like ferns for that. To keep scale right, I know that my print is going to be exactly this square. Maybe if I was a painter, this would be like a ground. You know, when you paint everything like a brown color to establish like a medium tonal quality. When I make a photograph, it's really important that it's to scale. Because again, I'm trying to tell the story of a plant, so I want them to be themselves. I want them to maintain their autonomy. I print at a 1-to-1 scale, and I keep my focus pretty universal. I make my photographs by taking a ton of photographs. I composite down upwards to 30 photographs to make a single photograph. The pictures I'm making are telling a story of me learning. It's telling a seasonal moment. It's telling an acute location, right? Like if I'm harvesting or foraging plants in a specific area, I'm not like shipping in a plant from somewhere else. They're growing next to each other, they know each other, and I'm learning about what does the first week of June look like in this area. And it's a very specific thing. It's not what the second week of June looks like. And I didn't know that until I started looking. As an artist, I do have a relationship with these things, and I want to encourage that, and all it takes is the willingness to meet them halfway. I think it's really common for kids, no matter where in the world you grow up, to think that the things around you have a life and have a spirit outside of the material, organic structure, and we kind of go through a lot of trouble to get rid of that. If I allow myself the imagination I had when I was a kid, I can have that relationship with these plants. I hope maybe through the stories, through the pictures, without just telling the stories, but like insinuating a story or implying a story, that you can kind of remember a little bit of that. And maybe when we remember that, we can reassess the value of that thing. Because when that thing is a plant that doesn't really do anything, it's just in the way of the sidewalk, then we will very quickly get rid of it. But when it is a magical plant that is a gateway to another land, like maybe you don't want to step on it. We need to reassess our values in how they relate to the natural environment.